Okay. I have a personal question to ask you. And
Yeah.
What happened?
Of course.
no, but so I heard a story that, and this could be wrong, when you showcase for Mitzi, that it didn't. I mean, did you ever showcase for Mitzi?
Yes.
Yeah. Did it go well?
I thought so, but she didn't think it went well.
And so you're never passed at the store?
I was never passed at the store.
Whoa.
And that's where I started.
Huh.
That's where I started.
That's incredible.
You know what she said to me? I went to the Comedy Store with my friend Ernie, and I did pretty good, man. And I think they turned the light on, the piano, and the people said to turn the light off to like let me keep going.
Yeah, yeah.
And the guy, the piano player, like, keep going. So then I go over there to her, and she says to me, where are you from? I'm from Mission Hill.
Yeah,
Nah. Well, why don't you try working the clubs there for a couple years and come back? And I was like, fuck.
She did that to Louis C.K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I want to start off by saying I am a George Lopez fan. Like, I watched his stand-up, and his stand-up is cool. But what I really like George from is the George Lopez show. Is that what it was called? I think it was. But I really liked the TV show that he did, right? Like, I like sitcoms, man. Like, I grew up in the era of sitcoms, you know? And to hear the theme song is like, it's the shit for me. You know, I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to laugh, about to have a good time. And no, I don't have a Latin bone in my body, right? But it was good to see a family of, you know, Spanish people, Mexicans, and that's what they were. But to see that type of lifestyle was intriguing to me, right? Like, I grew up on sitcoms, The Cosby Show. I've been watching these sitcoms now. Like, The Cosby Show, I've been watching. A Different World, I've been watching. Sanford and Son, I've been watching. Like, simply because I really enjoy sitcoms. Plus, I have a sitcom that I'm trying to put together myself when my comedy career takes off. But that's not what this video is about, right? This video is simply about how everyone's path is different. Listening to the podcast with Bobby Lee, George was like, I auditioned for Mitzi and I thought it went well, but she didn't think so, right? And like, even now as an up and coming comic, I'm like, I want to get to the Comedy Store. Not saying I want to be even, a regular and have my name on the wall, because there's certain comics that have never been passed. There's comics that have been passed and their name is on the wall, right? That's crazy to think about. You've never been passed. You've never been a part of that Comedy Store group and your name is on the wall. But to listen to George say that he auditioned for Mitzi and didn't get in. And then I've also heard stories of how Louis C.K. auditioned and never got in. And then I remember hearing Seinfeld. I remember hearing the story, but it wasn't, I guess he was just corny. Maybe that was it. Maybe he was corny, and the Comedy Store is a bunch of like kooky weirdos. And not all of them, but this is what I've envisioned, right? Like Sam Kinison, old weird ass, and then Tony being there, weird ass, and just the Comedy Store to me, from the documentaries that I've watched and the podcast where they talk about it, it was a bunch of dysfunctional comics trying to get to that next level, right? And the Comedy Store definitely is a staple in the comedy community because it helped launch so many great careers. We're talking about David Letterman, Jay Leno, J.J. Walker. The list goes on and on about how many stars came out of the Comedy Store, right? But there's also a lot of stars that never went through that path, right? And living here in Austin, I moved here because I was like, I'm going to get past at the Mothership. I'm here for that reason. Like, I want to pass through the mothership and work my way outwards to the comedy community, whether it be traveling to the major comedy clubs or having that pipeline back to the Comedy Store or what have you, right? So I've been to LA a couple of times, and I've worked, thank you to Dre. Is that his name? Damn, that's fucked up. No, Trey. Shout out to Trey. Trey got me opportunities to perform at the Hollywood Improv with D-Ray on Monday Rays. I've also performed out in, Miami Improv because of my relationship with D-Ray. And D-Ray was one of the first people that gave me a big opportunity in a major comedy club. So I'll always, be indebted to him, and I appreciate those opportunities because he don't have to do those things, right? But I look at comedy like I want to be passed, whether it be by the mothership, I want to be past either the Creek and the Cave or even Sunset, because those are, and don't forget Cap City, the 4. One of the 4 is where I want to get past that as a comedian, because that is I believe is my path, what I want to be vetted, from. But I have to realize that every comedian isn't going to be passed by those major clubs. Not everyone's going to do it. And there's other ways to get to your goal, right? The people in New York want to get past at the Cellar, the Stand, New York Comedy Club. What is there? There's more, I'm sure. But for Austin, those are the 4. So I'm thinking, is all the great comics that come out of New York have to go through the Cellar? Or all the great comics that come out of LA have to go through the Comedy Store? And do all the great comedy and comics in Texas have to go through the mothership, right? Houston is building, and people don't realize how rich the comedy community is in Houston. Like Sam Kinniskins came out here. I can't think of his name, but he's a white comic that's really. I can't think of his name, but there's Ali, of course, you know what I'm saying? But there's another, Bill something, but I can't think of his name. But the idea is right, there's different ways to get to that next level, and I have to figure out which way is right for me. So the whole point of this is just to point out that everybody doesn't have to get passed from the major comedy clubs in order to get to that next level. You do have to work hard. You have to put in the work. You got to grind. You got to write. You got to make sure that you're presenting as a great comic. And then you have to learn the business side as well. But it was just refreshing to hear, to see the trajectory of how George Lopez's career went without having to be passed by Mitzi, or how Louis C.K., even though he's a weirdo and freak, a good comic, but for him to be able to, his trajectory as well without having to be passed by the Comedy Store. So sometimes I get in my head thinking, oh man, I came here, I've been here, and it's only been a short amount of time. It doesn't even mean that I'm not going to get past. I'm not going to make those, strides in the right direction. It just seems like I have to be prepared that if that's not the road, I got to find another way. There's so many different ways to get into this business, and my focus is just being funny, traveling, and reaching out to a larger demographic than just in my little area. I don't know if y'all already following, if you're already subscribed, but it'd be great if you subscribe to the channel. You don't have to do all that, hit the bell if you don't want to, but I would hope that you would subscribe. Once I get to 500 subscribers, I got some really cool things I'm going to add where I'm going to start going live downtown in Austin so you guys can see in real time what the comedy scene is actually like. But I'll holler at you guys in the next one. Peace.